There's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Man, this stuff rocks.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey, this is Jake from LIMBO, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey, everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather, and as always, I bring you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a huge privilege to welcome one of the brothers, Jake Davies of LIMBO, and they have released their new single entitled California Demon, and I've been calling it California Dreamin' for the past week. So,
well, that's the trick on it right there.
Still good song there too.
California Demon.
Yeah. Hey, Mama's in the Pub still did a good job with that song too. So it's out right now. And they did a great cover of the Beastie Boys' Fight for Your Right. And I was very impressed with that on what you guys did, because to me, that's a very hard song to put your own twist to it and make it sound legible. And it was good.
Thank you, brother. Thanks a lot. Yeah, that one, I felt almost exactly the same way. We kept it a little bit straight and narrow for the most part, as we recorded that like the night before we went on tour, and we just knew we had to get something out while we were out there. So we recorded that literally, the vocals for it, literally the night before we left on this Buck Cherry tour. And when we're listening to it, after the first couple, like just plain normal vocal sessions, we're like, this needs some more shit. So we got my little brother in there, and I just pushed him to go balls to the wall, and he went so like crazy with it that I think he was like trying to just humiliate me by, you're being a dickhead by making me do too much on this, and I'm going to just exaggerate it so much that makes you look like a dumbass. And then those exaggerated ones were the ones that made it in the thing, dude. It made it so much funnier and better.
Hey, man, the harder you push somebody and piss them off, the better song it turns out to be.
Absolutely.
Now, you both are originally from Australia, and you both moved to the States to further your music career. How important of a move was that for you both?
I think it would have never happened if we'd stayed in Australia. Australia has there's a phrase called tall poppy syndrome about Australia, and it's when one poppy in the field rises above the other poppies, all the other poppies rush in and chop him back down to size. I think it's a very different culture in a lot of ways in Australia to do with artistic endeavors and just choosing to do anything that's outside of the box of doctor, lawyer, whatever is the normal accepted kind of stuff. And people really tear you down out there until you reach that point where you have made some success, and then they all sort of, I've been a supporter of Jake's from the start. So yeah, I don't think that we would have got nearly as far as we have out here.
I thought this was very cool on what you did. You first put a guitar in Luke's hands when he was 10, and you taught him the nylon string acoustic intro to Unforgiven by Metallica, which is very simple to do, which I can't play the rest of it, but I can do the intro. Thank God.
Yeah.
From there, he was hooked.
You can make the A minor, or what's that horrible joke? Finger A minor. Yeah. As long as you can finger A minor and you can get the right hand diddling a little bit, then yeah, you can probably get Unforgiven going pretty good.
Now, he was hooked. And looking back, how crucial was this for him, you think? And do you think he would found music into his life to do this now, or no? Without that?
God, it's tough to take all the credit on that one, because he absolutely loved Metallica already. I mean, he definitely heard Metallica and Alice in Chains and Nirvana and Rage Against the Machine through the speaker system in my bedroom as we were growing up. But he loved Metallica on his own. And then when I put the guitar in his hand and taught him Unforgiven, it was just off to the races, and he's never looked back since as far as playing guitar. But I definitely can't take all the credit.
How excited are you guys to have the new single California Demon out right now?
Oh, beyond stoked, dude. It was a labor of love, emphasis on the labor, because we had to put a lot of effort into that video to get it to where we wanted it. Everything from conceiving all the ideas to gathering all the different props and shooting all the different stuff over shit. It must have been like a couple months that we shot that thing, different nights, and like shooting things in flame circles and going and stealing a gurney from like a broken down gurney from the local hospital that my cousin works at. Like, there was a lot of shit that went into that video. So we're glad that it's finally out there and I can just have fun talking about it with dudes like you.
You know, I kind of put this into my own interpretation with this next question. I think it fits this perfectly. Is California Demon the band's Robert Johnson version who met the devil at the crossroads? Is this your guys' version of this in certain ways?
Exactly what it is, dude. It's that Faustian bargain, but you know, taking it literally, just like that devil at the crossroads story is, rather than the metaphor which it's become, which is, you know, you sell your integrity away for a record contract, and then they take control of you, and you have to play the stupid songs that they make you to, and dress up in the dumb little outfits that they put you in. That's the metaphor. But yes, you've got it exactly on the head. This one's the real idea of it, the literal idea of selling your soul for fame and fortune. And the story, very almost cliche story now, but I think it's a great one for a rock song.
See, folks, I know my music.
Yes, sir.
So I want to jump back to this video because this is very interesting, and it looked like it was a ton of good stuff, but a well of a workout for sure. The video for California Demon was directed by Tony Verselli and filmed at Bauer Films in Long Beach and New Vision Studios in Santa Ana. Yep. How was working with these folks? Did they get exactly what you guys were looking for, or was this the vision you wanted?
Yeah, Tony has exactly the skills to pay the bills that we needed. We luckily came in with a very organized storyboard that we both loved, and then we just broke up all the shots and took them with one by one with what made the most sense of setups and etc. But the first studio that we went to, Bauer Studios, where we shot all the bigger, wider screen stuff, they wouldn't let us do any flames whatsoever. So even those little candles that are around the drummer, those are some from Amazon with a little battery inside of it. But luckily, my buddy Greg Carter over at New Vision Studio in Santa Ana, he's a guy I've worked with for years, and he's just like, oh, yeah, no worries, Jakey. He's a South African guy. No worries, Jakey. Just I'm going away for the weekend. Just come over. I'll give you the keys. So he let us in there, and his brother was like doing taxes or something in the corner, and it's just like, oh yeah, just whatever you guys need. So we're in there lighting shit on fire. We nearly burned his studio down, nearly set my brother on fire a couple times. Had to like cover him with a wet blanket after one take because the flames caught all the way up his arm. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because this is insane. Luke is actually playing the guitar while it's on freaking fire. Yes. And I mean, for him to do this, he had to be freaking nervous and want to kill you.
Yeah. As soon as I proposed the idea, we're just like, oh my God, that's fucking cool. But how the hell are we going to do that? So once we did a little practice out front of the house, we got him some gloves and we got some like flame retardant spray and poured it all over his arms and stuff. Did a couple of practices out in front of the house with this like crappy Facebook Marketplace guitar that we bought for $30. And once we lit it up and it was like looking pretty cool, a couple camera tests, we're like, okay, we've got to fucking do this now. We got to do this. But then when we got there, if anything, it was Luke that was going balls to the wall. And I was like, Luke, we got to pump the brakes here, dude. I think we've got it. But every time we'd shoot one, he's like, nah, we need more. We need more lighter fluid on this one, more light. And he was the one that's pouring it on there. He's just dousing this bad boy. And then by the last one, yeah, it like started catching up his arm. And I'm like, okay. Now, after I had to fucking catch him with the wet blanket, I'm like, all right, buddy, I think we got it.
Jesus. I mean, is he like, what are those people called that likes to fire people? Good Lord.
Pyromania.
Yeah, I mean, pyromania. What the fuck, dude? What are you doing?
I think he just knew that it was going to be worth it. And it really was. Like we used every single shot that we took. I think we took maybe 4 different runs at it, and we used every little shot of it. So he was right to push the issue of it because it wouldn't have come out nearly as cool if he hadn't been ballsy enough to take it to the next level.
Man alive. So California Demon was recorded at Fab Factory Studios and produced by Mike Pepe, who's worked with Taking Back Sunday and Plain White Tees, and with mixing and mastering done by Grammy winner Jet Galindo. How was working with these folks on this?
Working with Mike Pepe he's our favorite producer we've ever had any time with. It's a bond we formed with him. I think he just gets our sound, and we get the way to work with him perfectly. He always brings a lot of great ideas to the table, and he also tends to be a good mediator between me and Luke when we have our very occasional disagreements about how something should be done or something should sound. It's nice to have somebody else in the room that we both like deeply respect on the sonic level to mediate between us and come to the final right decision.
Working with him, does he get something out of you guys that maybe somebody else might not get possibly?
Oh, definitely, dude. He'll always, he's got his great collection of pedals and guitars, and he'll say, "Oh, I think we should do this one on this one." But other than that, dude, it's just, as far as the actual like in the process of crafting the songs and stuff, we come in with fairly fleshed out demos. But still, once it's time to actually track guitars and track vocals, there's always more ideas and more bells and whistles that come into it. And Pep's just got one of the most brilliant sonic minds and ears for the gamut of everything that is possible and what would really make something take on a new flavor and new element that it needs. You know, one thing that he really does that I love is he pushes us on the bass guitar riffs a lot. Usually we always, before Pep, had sort of approached writing our bass guitar riffs as like, you know, it's just going to follow mostly along with the guitar, and it's going to be a little bit more boppy and groovy here and there. But Pep really likes to make bass guitar riffs evolve from verse to verse, even just getting more and more things happening and more, and even like little fills like a guitar would normally do. He wants the bass to pull off all that kind of stuff too. So it's really, it's the kind of stuff that maybe not everybody would notice on the recording all the time, but I certainly hear it, and I'm really happy that he pushes the envelope with us a lot of times.
How's the fans' feedback been on the release of this new single?
The fans that we've had for a long time really like it. They definitely are very impressed with the video. It might not be the favorite song they've ever heard of ours, because they've got a lot of different favorite songs of ours that they've heard before, but they're all very impressed by the video, and they're very stoked to see the recognition that it's getting because of how nicely produced the video and the song are. But a lot of new people coming in that we've never had before, and that's really nice to see. I'm hoping that they don't think that we are a one-trick pony band, and that they think the next song is going to be California Demon #2, because we really don't do that. We are a band that likes to make every song a very different color, very different flavor. And I think that gets into a tough area of how to market us as a band, because, you know, as soon as they get one song pitched to this section of playlists of Spotify and they're like familiarized with who we are, well, then the next song's probably not going to fit into those playlists quite as well, because it's maybe a little bit heavier, or maybe a little bit softer, or maybe a little bit rockier, or maybe a little bit more metal or indie or whatever the hell, you know.
This song reminds me of something that I would hear on a wrestling intro for somebody, entrance music, or a theme for like a wrestling pay-per-view or something like that, or sports thing. I mean, it's that good.
Thank you, brother. Well, if you've got any connections to that world, we'd love to do it. We actually got pretty close recently with our last single, Let's Go. We work with a sync agency, and we were apparently right on the cusp of getting Let's Go to be the main song in the new Expendables movie. And I went with some other wanky, like, Imagine Dragons sounding thing about "We're gonna be legends," you know, that kind of boop bop crap. So what can you do? But we went to a movie the other night, and we're watching the trailer, and then boom, Expendables 3 trailer comes on, and it's got that "We're gonna be legendary" kind of song, and me and Luke just look over at each other like, oh God.
I mean, that's a gut punch right during a video that you're watching, like, oh shit, seriously, you're gonna play this now? I want my money back.
Yeah, exactly.
So are you guys writing an EP or an album, or just releasing singles at this point?
Right now, it's just for the rest of the year. We're definitely just releasing singles. But as far as writing is concerned, dude, we've got so many songs in the tank. We could put 3 albums out if we had the time and the money to sit in the studio for that long. So I think it's probably going to be singles and touring for the rest of the year. Luckily, we've got most of anything we need already recorded and some videos already made. I just got to chop them up and put them out there. But I think that as far as EP wise, it's looking like maybe next year just before summer hits, so we can have a lot to present to the world before we spend the whole summer next year touring.
Now, you guys have been around for a while. Do you feel that you've hit your stride as a band musically, or you still want to push outside that box to see how further you can go?
I think, dude, it's going to be just like I said before. It's always going to be
Okay.
Every song's going to have a different vibe. You know, it's never been so much like, oh shit, we really need to shake ourselves up here and like get out of a box, because I feel like we've never really been in too much of a box before. And every song we put out there, we try and paint a really drastically different color than the last one, and find what the appropriate sort of painting style is to illustrate that, whatever the concept of the song is, blah, blah, blah.
Do you feel of Limbo music has to come out strong?
It depends on what your definition of strong is, because we've got a couple that are on the softer end for sure. And for instance, like one of my favorite songs by Smashing Pumpkins, not that they're my favorite band of all time or anything, but as much as I love that Spot on My Rage song, I love that one, but I think probably 1969 is probably my favorite one. And that's quite a very soft, cruisy, like you're on a drive down PCH with your girlfriend just waiting for the waves to start hitting or something, you know? So I think we've got a lot of those that are in the works that are coming sooner than later. One called Metal, which is very dear to our heart, should be one of the ones we release pretty soon, I think.
All right, Jake, is the track listing placement important for your album or EP releases?
Oh, it's absolutely clutch, I think. We've got one EP out so far that's as far as like fully out to the public on streaming services. That one's called Nicotine. And I think that the order of the songs is absolutely clutch, and we nailed it on that one. But we also used to have a touring CD that we would sell when we were on tour. I think we got maybe like 8 of them left right now. But whenever I throw that thing in the van, I'm like, oh God, how did we possibly choose that order? It's craziness. Anyway.
What does each of you, yourself and your brother, bring to this band that makes that chemistry work?
We both have different sort of musical tastes that do merge together, but he comes from a jazz guitar background. He's classically trained, and I definitely come from more of the metal background, and am certainly not classically trained, but flubbed my way through it pretty well all through high school. So I think he has a very beautiful, soft, melodic approach. Not to say that he doesn't come up with very heavy riffs too, but we both bring certain types of riffs to the table, and we both bring certain types of melodies to the table. I think some of my favorite melodies of any songs we've ever had, vocal melodies, are ones that he's come up with. And some of my favorite lyrics we've ever had are lyrics that he's come up with too.
You know, that's the beautiful part of music. I mean, you can't, and I've said this 1,000 times, and people can get mad at me. I do not care. You can't go 1,000 miles an hour and have the same song on every freaking album and every album be the same thing. You can't. You've got to have a flavor of a roller coaster on there.
Absolutely right, dude. I mean, especially when you go and see a show and it's just the same song over and over again.
Yes.
Like maybe this band has had one absolutely huge hit, and then they're trying to just rehash it, redo it 100 different ways. And it's just, I don't know. Everybody's sitting there waiting for the final moment that they play the one song that they like. I don't know. It feels a bit tragic to me. I definitely love the hills and the valleys, and I love telling different stories with different songs that can relate to people in different ways.
What's the growth musically you've seen from yourselves working on song to song up till now that impresses you?
I think Luke has especially got a much deeper understanding now of the production end of things. When we very first started out in our little bedroom apartment by the beach in Long Beach, that was a great place to live, by the way, that old little apartment. Anyway, I digress. When we first started out, he was just sort of working it out as best as he could, trying to work out this Axe FX thing that he uses and trying to work out Pro Tools and Cubase and whatever the hell else. But now he's actually produced a couple of albums for other local rock bands, and he's really got his finger on the pulse about how to use all the production tools well enough to a degree that we make our demos sound like, to me, like something that I would be happy to release. But then when we go and we re-record them with Mike Pepe, it takes it on to a whole other level. But I think the growth of his sonic knowledge and grasp of the technology and ways to make soundscapes that much bigger has really grown since our start.
So I know you had a lot of music when you were growing up that really influenced you. You're like, man, I love this song. This is my anthem. I can listen to this song and it pulls me out of whatever I'm going through. Now you guys are kind of on that hot seat for people. What's it mean to you when you guys see somebody come up after a show, email, whatever, or post that says, I've interpreted this song into my own way and it helped me through a dark time or it just gave me inspiration? How does that feel to you guys now since you're doing that?
It feels great, dude. I mean, we had this, we had one EP, like a demo EP that we put up before Nicotine. We've taken that guy down now because it was the bedroom one that we made. There was a song on there that we're finally going to put out again as the final polished version of it, but it's called Metal, Mettle, which means sort of inner strength, fortitude, triumphing against adversity, blah, blah, blah. And when that first demo CD was out, we had a message come in from a kid in Australia, actually, who didn't know us, but he was a little kid in Australia. And he said that he was getting bullied a lot at school. And after school, on his way home, he would listen to that song on repeat, and it always made him feel like he was above it. And fuck these kids. They don't fucking get it. It's okay because this is all they'll ever be, and I'm just trying to be more than they are. And by the time they're fucking, this is me embellishing on it now, but by the time they're Al Bundy shoes salesman in the middle of Australia doing jack shit with their lives, and he's living the dream that they clowned on him for, he'll be the one to have the last laugh, you know?
That people, I don't know why they want to bully somebody. I just don't get it. Just because somebody's different, they're not different. They're just, they're doing stuff that you want to do and you can't do it.
Yeah. And desperately trying to pull someone down to bring themselves up, I think is what it really boils down to most of the time.
So we're going to throw of Limbo out the window for just on these next couple of questions, my friend.
Cool.
If you could write an album equivalent to your favorite band's album, Jake, which album would that be? If you could say, man, I wish I had something to do with that album, or I wish I could write an album equivalent to that album.
Absolutely love Angel Dust by Faith No More because as far as putting in the context of like, if I could, the thing I love about it so much is that they'd had this huge success with the album before, this breakthrough success, the album that had Epic on it, etc. And then instead of just going out there and making another funk metal Chili Peppers kind of effort, they thumbed their nose at that and they went as diverse as possible. And I know Easy Like Sunday Morning was put on the next album after that, King for a Day, but it was actually recorded during that time. Anyway, they thumbed their noses at convention and what all the record people wanted. And when they delivered the record, the fucking record label guy comes into Mike Patton and the boys. He's like, well, hope none of you guys bought houses because this shit ain't going nowhere. And then sure enough, Angel Dust is still one of the most beloved Faith No More albums of all time, and absolutely kept launching them further and further in their careers. So I love a good fuck you to the man, you know?
Yeah, that's because you don't do it his way. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
So I didn't make the same song again for you 10 times so that you could maybe make a little bit more money on it at that exact moment until people are fucking sick of it. If people want Epic, listen to Epic. You don't got to fucking record Epic 10 times.
That's exactly right, man. What's been your most memorable show that the band has been a part of that you still can't believe you guys were, if it's happened?
Oh shit! I'm sure there's some coming. Absolutely, opening up for Kevin Martin, Candlebox was huge for us, as we've been huge fans of them our whole lives. And also another surreal one was growing up in Australia. We knew Wolfmother to be pretty much the biggest rock band out of Australia at that current time, for sure. They like held a section, a timestamp of Australian rock music. So getting to open up for them for a few shows was also just a real surreal moment. But as far as things that I'll never forget, it's probably not even like the size of the show or who we're playing under. It's some of the crazy shit that happens. Like on the last tour we did with Small Town Titans, my little brother and I would sort of, during their last song, Small Town Titans' last song, Devil's Choir, which, by the way, is a great song. Everybody should listen to that song. During that song, we'd run up on the stage and we'd like start stage diving to each other and just get the crowd hyped and blah, blah, blah. And one night, the very final show, the crowd was a little bit too thin for it. And Luke was maybe a little bit too drunk for it. And he ran up there and he did his fucking dive and he sort of dove towards me, which is smart because I'm a big enough dude to usually at least start the catching process. But he dove right over my shoulder like this. And I caught his legs at the last moment, ended up fucking like suplexing him WWF style. And we both laid on the ground having sort of clashed heads somehow and hitting the ground hard. And then all of a sudden, I feel like more hits going on everywhere. And I'm thinking, oh, God, we're in the middle of the crowd. They didn't notice or something like that. No, this lady that was in the crowd had also been hooked by Luke's other leg. And then she quickly got back up and was angry at us. So she started stomping on us while we were on the ground. And yeah, we had to sober up as quickly as possible and get Luke to the hospital, because he's now got 12 staples in the back of his head to stop his head from gushing blood. It was pretty crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't crowd surf. You won't see me crowd surf. You won't see this big guy doing it. Mm-mm.
Good move, mate. Yeah, I think our days of doing that have probably come to an end after that horrible, hard lesson.
Speaking of Kevin Martin from the Mighty Candlebox, he said, and I quote, "Of Limbo is the last dangerous rock and roll band you fuckers will ever see."
Yeah, that was great. We actually had someone send us the video moment of that, and I was like, "Oh, thank God somebody got it." That was awesome. Kevin's a really nice dude, and he's also super supportive of lots of up and coming rock and roll bands. I think what he meant by that one is that we try very hard to embody the spirit of the rock and roll that he was a part of as he was coming up, which is not so much of a polished play along to perfect backing tracks and make sure everything exactly squeaky clean and your voice is on perfect point and all that kind of stuff. It's not so much about that, for us at least, and it's so much more about making a rock show an experience, making it a party that everybody feels like they're a part of, and that they want to remember for the rest of their life, will remember for the rest of their lives, and want to be at the next time the party comes around their town.
All right, man. If you could be a member in an iconic band and play one of their legendary shows, which band would it be and what show would it be possibly?
Oh, well, I mean, pretty tough to go past that gigantic Metallica one in Moscow. I think it was Metallica and Pantera maybe, and they were in Moscow. It was like 1.5 million people because it was a free show, and like you see the Soviet soldiers like throwing their hats off and shit because they're getting into it too. It's tough to beat that one, but we watch a lot of like live 80s and 90s band footage because that was just such a better era of music. I feel like before people had their phones and they're watching the damn thing through their phones and shit, people were just living. And one I really feel like has just such huge palpable energy, maybe because it was such a small room and the time, was Guns N' Roses at the Ritz, because it was when they were just starting. They hadn't really like made huge radio fame yet, but they were big enough to like be packing out LA shows. And this is the first time I think they'd ever gone to New York, and just the energy that all of those dudes had and the energy the crowd was fucking feeding back to them. It was a snapshot of a bygone era that proves that we are not living in better times now than we were in the 90s and 80s.
Nope. And that show actually was for MTV.
There you go.
Yep. So that's when, to me, MTV was great, and the bands were scary. Bands like Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue. You had, let's see, back in the day, like Danzig, stuff like that. I mean, you didn't know anything about them. You had to go to the pharmacy or drugstore or pharmacy or the gas station or somewhere to buy Circus Magazine, Circus Magazine, Hit Parader. I know I'm leaving some other ones out, but that was the information that you got, or you had to watch MTV, and if MTV would talk about them. But God, man, it was so scary because you're like, I don't know if I'll hang out with those guys or not.
Yeah, and also you'd have to, when you go to the record store, the other scary thing is you got your $20 that you've been saving up, and you're like, oh God, what am I going to spend it on? And then you have to basically judge by, like, you go to your section that you're probably going to like, and you go to the section, you got to basically judge by the art of the album. Like, oh God, am I going to get a winner or a stinker with this one? And most of the time the art did a fucking pretty good job of illustrating whether it was going to be shitty or good.
All right, folks of Limbo have released their new single, California Demon. It's out now. You want to get out and pick this single up, all their other stuff that they have out right now. So, Jake, my friend, how can folks stay in touch with you guys? Buy this single, all your singles, and plus your EP that's out. How can you do that, sir?
Oflimbo.com is the website. You can buy whatever merch we got on there, usually T-shirts and all kinds of cool stuff. But we're streaming on everything. We're on the Boob Tube. And if you find us on Instagram, we're usually pretty good at responding to comments and DMs and all that stuff, because we're not elitist hoity-toity weirdos that are above it all. We figure that social media has got some purpose. That if that purpose is anything, it's to connect me to you. So let's connect and fucking have a good one.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up. You only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link that I hope that you go and subscribe to, because I would absolutely love it. Trust me, I would love it. More subscribers, the better. Hint, hint. Also, please get out and check out Of Limbo. You won't be disappointed. Give these guys a fair shot. And let me tell you some California Demon. Great song. Their cover of the Beastie Boys, Fight for Your Right, is fucking amazing. Just do yourself a favor. Go listen to these guys and judge for yourself. But hey, just do it. Jake, thank you so much for this interview, man. I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.